But you look at it and go, in January we needed a striker, we didn't buy one. And we've ended up with nothing. And nobody at the end of the season is going, how have they done that to us?
People think, they look at us three and sometimes think we're fairly toxic. I don't think that's very toxic for me at all. Because I'm saying to him, win me a trophy and compete for the league, and I'm cool.
But Gyökeres is the one that is scoring.
Yeah.
Or Osimhen's the one that scored goals on the way to league titles or cups. They're the ones that have had some experience, along the way, International League, Champions League and so on. Did we keep our powder dry in January for Sesko? Because that seems like it is the reality.
So that's the one it is. I think the links to Zubamendi and Sesko in particular are not anything to do with Andrea Berta. I don't look at those signings thinking they're his signings.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Supporters Club. You know what it is already, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, do all of that stuff. I wish this was under better circumstances. It's the first one off the back end of the season. 24-25 ends with nothing yet again. 5 years now without a trophy since that last FA Cup. I say all this because sometimes people moan about the tone of a show. What do you expect the tone to be considering we've ended the season with nothing, albeit rumours galore in the transfer window, but that's part and parcel with Arsenal, to be honest, of the Emirates era. So let's see if all those rumours build into something here to talk about it. Curtis Shaw, first and foremost, what are you telling me, bro?
What's happening, bro? Just, I'm just trying to focus on the summer, take my mind off Arsenal. It's been a long season, book the holidays, just keep it moving.
You got the shirt ready for the holiday, yeah?
I got the shirt. I thought I'd put it into the Gyökeres fund,
Try and might be the Sesko fund.
Well, if it's the Sesko fund, I'll have to get my money back. I've still got the receipt at home. Don't worry about that.
Cool. The club shop are watching now. They're going to say, yeah, you bring that back.
Little tear on the sleeve, mate. Can I have my money back?
Say no more. I see it there, actually. I back you up. You got evidence. What are you telling me? Dan Potts back in the building as well. You was here last time as well, right?
Yeah, it was us three last time, right?
Yeah.
And nothing has changed.
Oh, yeah.
No, look, a lot has changed, but unfortunately not for the way that we wanted to see it. Look, man, aside from football, it's cool. Summertime, sun shining, we're happy, but I want to see some action, and I appreciate the window's now open. Let's see what we get.
Everyone's talking about the window, right? Everyone's talking about these players, and it's got boring quickly because as much as we are being linked, that's good. Zubamendi seems like he's over the line, that's good. We've been talking about him since January now. So that one does feel like it's been launched, relaunched. And if he feels like an Arsenal player already, when he actually isn't. And when you consider the window's open now, you ask why. There's a release clause, there's an agreement apparently. He's known to change his mind before, but let's just push that aside for a second. The striker stuff, happy to be linked with strikers. We need a striker at the bare minimum. A lot of argument between who, what, when, where, all of that as always. But let's start with next season. What's the bare minimum? What do you leave the season happy with? What is, I hear some arguments, a Carabao Cup would be enough. I hear other arguments where it has to be the Premier League or the Champions League. I see some saying that as long as we challenge, they seem to be all right. Where do you two, obviously we know each other well, but where do you two land on that in terms of next season? What is the must?
For me, it's big trophy or on
What's
your bike.
big?
The two big trophies, bro.
Two,
Champs
okay.
or the Prem for me. If you was 2 or 3 years into it, then you say, listen, you've just got to pick up silverware and keep this moving. But you cannot be in your 6th full season at one of the biggest clubs in the country talking about if I win a Carabao Cup and get top 4.
You're already lucky.
Why?
And not you.
Oh.
I mean, the situation.
Oh, the situation.
Confused for a second.
Bro.
Tell me why.
Tell me why, bro.
No, you're already lucky being here for the 6th season.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant I was lucky. I was I don't feel lucky, bro. There's parades. I was saying Wimbledon are having a parade, Charlton, Palace, Tottenham. We're the only club in London, pretty much.
Yeah.
No parade. No, I know what you're saying. He's very lucky, but it's been dressed into a situation where, like, his time at the club, it's like been separated. A lot of people use the argument, the first 3 years he was just tidying up the mess that had been left, and then now 3 years of challenging. But to me, if you're finishing second 3 years in a row, that tells me you're one of the best teams in the country. So how are you not walking away with some silverware? And then Thierry says, you know, they should be winning a trophy, and fans are turning on probably the greatest player we've ever had.
Yeah.
There has to be a demand. Like I always say, fans want to say we're the Arsenal, we're this big club, we're an institution of English football, but when people say, okay, show us why, it's like people are afraid of that. Because to me, ambition has accountability behind it. So if you say, I want to win the best trophies and I want us to be at the top, to me, that means if you don't reach that, then something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And that means somebody maybe has to lose their job or something has to change. And I don't think Arsenal are quite comfortable with that sort of pressure. They're happy to just be there and say, well, you know, we're still competing, so we should be happy with it. But we've been in that situation before.
Henri even caveated the comments that people seem so upset with what you just said. I mean, even I, over the years, have tried to be balanced on it. The Arteta outs don't like me at times. The Arteta ins hate me most of the time. So I'm somewhere in between. But Henri mentions there is a need 3-4 windows to fix things, especially coming from where we had to come from, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, and like Henri said, it's now 3 years. The age old, and it feels age old now because I've heard it so much over the years, is look at where we was 3 years ago, we was 8th. Look at where we was 3 years ago, we was in Europa struggling. 3 years ago now is challenging for league titles. And couple that up with the new contract Arteta signed, top 3 highest paid managers in world football, we must, in my opinion, before we move on to Dan, we must win the big one. The big one for me is the Premier League, by the way, but Champions League is also the big one. So one of the big, like you said, one of the majors. I still class FA Cup and always will as a major. I grew up with Premier League, Champions League and FA Cup being a major. That is the treble, right? But over the years, it's lost a bit of its gloss, and the reputation of Champions League more so, but also the league has maintained and Champions League has risen because of the eyes on football now. So one of those 2 big trophies, in my opinion, it has to be delivered. And I don't say that to apply pressure. I say that because I want it, I need it. Do you get it? People think this is, we all want it, we all need it then, right?
Let me make it clear, bro. Before we go into the minimum expectation of this season, I feel like we've brushed across what we've done in the last 5 too quickly. I want him gone. I don't care if people think that's a negative thing to say. And I know he's not going. So I'm no longer Arteta out. I want them guys gone up the top. I'm sick of listening to all this time, process, and we're ready to invest and we're ready to go big this season. I've heard this all before, brother, if I'm honest with you. So when people say to me, are you Arteta out or you Arteta in? Because you have to be one.
Yeah.
I'm neither, man. I want the Cronkies out. That's where I'm at. They've shown me who they are for the last 21 years, bruv, yeah? And I look at the scenario of Arteta and this process, and it was going to take him this time, and Thierry Henry comes out and says it's going to take some time, but now it's time to deliver. And we've got a section of the fan base that are like, oh, he's not welcome back at this club anymore. Don't talk negatively on it. Now let me come into a little... He's jealous. He's got a statue outside of our ground, but he's jealous of Mikel Arteta, the manager. Are we hearing this? What is going on here?
Look at the examples over time. Who scored that goal in America, the CONCACAF or something a few months ago and ran straight over? The other, Marquinhos, after the track. There's always them moments with Henri because there's a few players that are not bigger than football, but they transcend what football is. It's about culture as well. And how can people mention, sorry, I had to cut in there because I love Henri. I done a stream about it, you done a stream because we grew up on Henri. And the funny thing is we look at these comments and say, a lot of the reason why you support, younger fans support Henri, or fans from abroad support Henri, or fans in general support Henri, support Arsenal is because of Henri, sorry. A big percentage.
Bruv, massive percentage. And I don't know how we can look at ex-legends like Emmanuel Petit, Paul Merson, Thierry Henry, when they're putting pressure on a club to win and say they're the problem. The problem is they wouldn't have to be talking like this if we were actually winning. Yeah, so there's a reason they're coming out with stuff like this. So I get frustrated when I hear fans that are like looking against Thierry. It's like they've got this weird protection or cult against this manager. You dare say something about this manager, you're now in the scumbag category. I find that bizarre because some of these players and some of these pundits that aren't on that side of the fence were under George Graham and Arsene Wenger. how dare they speak like this? Oh, it's acceptable now, but it wasn't when you were playing for us in the 90s and in 2000s, because when we weren't winning, a lot of people were pissed off, and it was good to be pissed off. Now, that's cool. It's the process. Give it time, man. Come on, we've still got this guy who's going to be brilliant in 5 years' time. Imagine how good Saka and Saliba are going to be when they're 28. Let's hope they're not playing for Real Madrid. Because I've seen this twice already. I've seen Fabregas and Van Persie when they were young, and they was told, mate, well, they're going to be brilliant when they're 28. They weren't playing for Arsenal at 28. Yeah. So I've seen this before, man. Minimum expectation for me, now that I've got that out of the way and I know what I'm looking at, I know the Cronkies are keeping this guy. I know Arteta's the manager, and I've been told we've got a big summer. So for me, there's two things. I'm against the people that say, just win me a trophy. Win me a trophy, but you have to compete in the league. You can't be coming 16th and winning a trophy. You can't be coming 8th and winning a trophy. And you made a good point about people that said, look at where we've come from. We were 8th. We should never have been 8th. This is like Usain Bolt going around the track, pulling a hamstring and coming 12th, and then going, well, I won the next one. Look at where I come from. Brother, you should never have been 12th. The only reason you were there is because you got a hammy. So I look at that scenario and think, why are people still mentioning 8th? That was back in COVID. The last time we won something. The people that are saying be patient, it's been 21 years since we won the Premier League, bruv. Yeah? Over 30 without any form of European trophy and League Cup, and 5 now with an FA Cup, without an FA Cup. So people that tell us we're entitled and that we need to just calm down and be patient, I think we've been one of the biggest, most patient fan bases out there in the Premier League in terms of the size of our club, in terms of the big six. People are laughing at Tottenham. They've now won something. That means we have to win something. So for me, I don't look at the Carabao Cup as the priority, but I certainly do actually look at the trophy as a League Cup of something that I grew up winning. 93, I loved it. When we did the cup double in Sheffield Wednesday. Go and ask George Graham and Keown and Campbell and Wright and Merson what they thought of that trophy. Did they think it was an energy drink cup, or did they think it was? But let me make it very clear, if we win that, we better be going for that league as well. Either win the league with it, or you just miss out and win that trophy. For me, the FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League, and people think, they look at us three and sometimes think we're fairly toxic. I don't think that's very toxic for me at all, because I'm saying to him, win me a trophy and compete for the league, and I'm cool. Win me a trophy though. I've got to be doing that in May. If you don't do that in May, I don't really know how long we give this guy, because for me, he should be gone already, bruv.
I mean, it's unusual that a topic goes onto Cronkies without me mentioning them, so I welcome it. But for me, it's always them. It's always them. Do I think Wenger didn't want to win? No. Do I think Arteta doesn't want to? No. Part of those conditions are, we're not going to do everything to win, but, we will give you the money to be the face of the club. They feel comfortable in that. It happened under Wenger for so long, and since Be Excited, it's just become stale again. And I think the only way it can be some excitement again is with a big signing. A big signing, a statement signing. And again, demoralising seeing the statement signing of the summer, which will be hard to topple, being made by the team that won the Premier League. Inverts seemingly going through the door there, as well as a couple other positions being filled already. So the ownership is always the problem for me. It always stems from them. It's just that somehow they found, with Wenger, I always understood it, increases in pay over the years, highest paid manager in Europe. We paid the highest ticket prices. Wenger justified that. Wenger's a smart man. Him doing things like that was it was to protect the board, to cover up whatever it was. It became very toxic those times, and I think no other fan base had to go through that. Now fan bases go through different things, relegations. Some don't even make it to professional, national leagues and whatnot. There's different, but with Arsenal, and this is where I go into the standard thing, Arteta has brought our standard back. He has. But Arsenal's standard is the key there. It's Arsenal's standard. It's not Arteta's standard. He's brought us back to our standard, which is being upset, not winning anything. That is the bare minimum, right? But that's our standard. It's not his to own. It's not, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, yeah. So at a certain point, like I said before, 3 years ago, we was 8th, has turned into 3 years ago, we were challenging for a league title. It pushes come to shove now, and you got to deliver. For me, FA Cup and Carabao Cup, if we done the double, by that I mean the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, domestic double, cup double, of course, I'm going to be over the moon.
I celebrate FA Cups. The evidence is there in the past. I love them. Carabao Cup, not too. But if you win 2 cups, Carabao Cup's always you have a nice tea, but here's the biscuit. It's the side. Let me just. You can do without a biscuit because the tea's nice, but it's nice to have it. But if a biscuit comes on its own, it's dry. That's how I see Carabao Cup.
You know what? Just quickly on that point, right? Because I'm with you in terms of order of priority. We all want the champs, the Prem, and then it goes to FA Cup and then Carabao Cup. For me, the reason I think the League Cup or the Carabao Cup now it's called is actually the one to look at first, is because it gives you the winning mentality and the momentum to then go and win something in May, whether it's an FA Cup, Premier League, or of course the Champions League. And that's why Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho have never looked at it and went, I don't want that. And we cannot be, as a club, looking at those dusty cups going, oh, no thank you. Because we've gone 5 years without one.
Yeah.
1 trophy in 8 years ain't enough.
But do you know where I balance that? And maybe this is me being too pessimistic, right? Or too damaged over the years. But I envision, let's say we win the Carabao Cup, right? The club and the ownership will make it like we've won the World Cup.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And it will give the perception that the process and be excited is complete, let's say. Arteta's separate because he's actually mentioned leagues and...
Yeah, of course.
But I feel like that would be manipulated by the club because the club manipulates a lot of things, whether it be merchandise drops and the varsity jackets are doing good, let's drop 5 of them this year, right? 5 of them this year, varsity jackets, all the first ones sold well, bang, 4 more. Do you get it? So the club, they manipulate things, and I think if we did win the Carabao, as much as it is a trophy, it is success, I'll be happy with it. I don't mean disrespect when I say biscuit. I just look at European leagues and no one else has got a second domestic cup, really. It's not recognised like that. As Charity Shield, Super Cup is recognised more in Europe.
Yeah.
I just feel like it'd be manipulated to this is the...
Do you feel like
this is the long way it has...
Maybe.
Because look how the FA Cup felt in 2014.
Yeah.
Look how it felt.
Yeah.
How was it?
It felt mad. I was on the road going mad.
Same.
Do you know?
But you think the desperation caused us to
it's a build up, and then But look at the modern day, bro.
Yeah.
PSG win Champions League. People are talking about our fans are making it about us on Twitter.
Yeah.
On X. Liverpool win the league.
I've seen that.
Again, our fans, our accounts are making it about us. They can't reach our points total from last year.
Yeah.
Silly things. Our XG is the silly just.
So
imagine we won even the Carabao.
Cup, they'll run with
That's it.
That's what I was saying about one of the section
deal.
Of fans that do this.
Here
now.
we go.
They probably would. Do you know what? As you was talking about the owners there, I think a lot of people are letting them away with this season because you think, well, no, we're not, but a lot of people are.
When I did that protest with
I know. I was how many years ago was that? But bro, I'm looking at it
19,
I'm watching the Champions League final the other day. I'm thinking, imagine if we'd got past PSG. And we're playing against that Inter Milan team now. I don't think we would have demolished them the way they did. But you look at it and go, in January we needed a striker, we didn't buy one. And we've ended up with nothing. And nobody at the end of the season is going, how have they done that to us? Even if you're the biggest Arteta fan, you should be going, well, they let him down then. If you love this manager so much, the guys who employ him sold him short. Because did you see Khaldoon at Man City talking about, we made mistakes last summer, won't happen this year.
I swear,
said we weren't aggressive enough. And he said Mamouche was going to be bought in the summer, but we were desperate in January. Haaland got injured, Alvarez had gone, so we moved the sign into January. And I'm listening to that thinking, look at the language, look at the way he's talking. He's admitting we got it wrong last summer, the signings didn't give us what we needed. I'm thinking, we're finishing second, trophyless, and people are spinning it as a positive. We're still competing, and next year, but last year you were telling me, if 115 gets hold of Man City, we're going to clean up.
Yeah,
they had the biggest drop off Pep's had at Man City, and we're watching another team win it.
Like it's all turned into Sesko or Gyökeres because of the way the club has been run over the years.
Yeah,
because of the division, because what. The Sesko stuff, what I don't understand about it, right, is I think he's got potential. I think he could be a top striker, but could be at this stage not really hearing that. Now, he might hit the ground running, big him up. If he signs for us, I back him, right? But Gyökeres is the one that is scoring.
Yeah.
Or Osimhen's the one that scored goals on the way to league titles or cups. They're the ones that have had some experience along the way, internationally, Champions League and so on. Did we keep our powder dry in January for Sesko? Because that seems like it is the reality. Now, that's not Sesko's fault, but look at the club. You haven't won anything for 5 years. You haven't won the league for 21 years. You have, push comes to shove, you need to sign someone. But the reasoning behind not maybe taking the necessary risk with maybe Sesko and paying 80 if you had to, or going 60 on Watkins because there's an opportunity this season to win something. The club would rather wait on a 21-year-old Slovenian kid in Germany that hasn't scored 15. They'd rather say, let's see how this season goes. Let's not, because we're going to get him.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Haaland.
You'd wait.
That Man City maybe waited a year and a bit for after Aguero had a couple of years or whatever it was. You can understand that. And more so because they win stuff around it and before it. So you could understand maybe a transition period where we're waiting for our striker. Look at our club. Why? Because the difference really financially between winning the league and actually, finishing second, third, fourth, it's fine margins in terms of when we're talking the millions. So they don't care. And the evidence is there, year in, year out. I always said, get us back to square one. Arteta did that. Big him up for that. Because square one is an FA Cup here and there, which has been 5 years off now, but Champions League football, some hope that we can do something. But what do we do from square one? Last 3 windows. That's where square one started.
Do you know what we need as a fan base, right? We need collective honesty. To me, that's the only way we move forward. So there's fans online that probably didn't want Sesko, but now we're being linked with Sesko. All of a sudden, he's become the
a lot.
There's compilations everywhere. I've seen people calling him the new Zlatan, all kind of madness like that. I'm like, people told me we need to be in the Champions League. Why? So we can buy the best players. Well, we're desperate for a striker. So I expect the club to try and buy the best strikers available. The guys who are at the top of the tree in terms of availability, like you said, your Osimhen's, your Gyökeres, you're now going to say no to them for a prospect, because that's what he is. Now, don't get me wrong, he might come here and be a beast and different league, more service, you never know. But you're rolling the dice, and big clubs aren't supposed to do that. You're supposed to get the best available, and if it doesn't work, you say, well, I went for the best that was available. Arsenal are still acting like we're in the Europa League. Like Zubimendi, and he might be a good player, so I haven't got a problem with that. But Sesko, I feel like the striker situation, we've waited years for this. Since Aubameyang, we got Jesus, he wasn't prolific. Havertz went up there. This signing could be pivotal to our season. A lot of people are saying, bro, if it's Sesko, we ain't winning the title. How do you expect a 21, 22-year-old that is at Leipzig? They haven't even qualified for the Champions League. He's got 13 goals. He actually scored less goals this season than the season before.
Yeah, with more
You
games.
expect him to come to the Prem and lift Arsenal to a title in his first year in England.
And that's not fair to pressure on him to do that.
It's not. It's actually not.
At this stage of his... But look, again, as you're talking, as I'm thinking, it just... Go back, 20 years now? Maybe, 18 years? Wenger used to say a lot in the Emirates era, we're only going for world-class talent. Like Arteta said at the beginning of this window, we're back to attract the best players, right? And then we're linked to Sesko. When Wenger used to say that, sometimes we'd get a Nasri, but at that time, I kind of like a Nasri. Let's say when we signed Nasri, he was a young prospect, he was doing his thing, but we also knew he needed time to bed into a side that at that time, I forgot what year it was, but at that time we had hopes that we could go win the league still.
Yeah.
Was it 08, 09?
08, 09.
Yes, and so on. But we bought a player that's young, that needs time to gel. By the time he gels, a few more have left. So by the time he feels like he's good enough, he looks around and thinks, I got to leave as well. Yeah. It feels like it's similar wording and then similar actions. Because the only world-class official talent we've actually ever gone for is Ozil, Sanchez, Aubameyang. Really, that are primed in their, European level. They've done it. I know Rice is big money, but them three were different. I mean, even Ozil was different to them other two. I mean, all this talk, it just never transfers into reality for us, Dan. But it's been a very negative show. I'm not about to spin it to a positive because there's not really a positive to spin it to apart from. Do I have any notes? No, there isn't one there.
Look, man, it's just the way it is at the moment. Let's hope it picks up in the next coming weeks, because it could do. There's a way to do that, and that's to get the guys over the line. The only positive and the thing that I'm reassured about this summer that we haven't had before now is Andrea Berta, right? So if Andrea Berta is serious and he uses his experience and the CV that says I can get these players in, I'm excited by that. I'm not excited by Kroenke or Arteta or any of the previous regime personally, right? So that's the one it is. I think the links to Zubamendi and Sesko in particular are not anything to do with Andrea Berta. I don't look at those signings thinking they're his signings. They will definitely be signed for Arsenal in his regime and in his way that he started. But those are the two names that I expected to see in an Arsenal shirt because of Arteta, not because of Andrea Berta. So I won't be kind of judging him on either of those signings. I will be when the next one comes in the door. Let's be positive and say we're going to sign Rodrigo and Eze. I just think of two names. Yeah. I'd be like, Berta knows what he's doing then. I'm not saying it's got nothing to do with Arteta, because I'm sure he's going to have a say in it, right? But Berta will be judged on the business that he does outside of Zubamendi and Sesko for me, because they're the two that I expect to come through the door now. That's what we keep hearing, right? I'll say this, you mentioned like past stuff. We've signed better players when we were in the Europa League than the Champions League, if you think about it. Because since the Champions League, there's only really been Timber and Rice that I look at and go, wow. Because Havertz, Raya was all right, Marino, Calafiori, and then there's been bad ones on top of that. But if you go back to Wenger and Arteta and Emery times when we were in the Europa League trying to get back into the Champions League, yeah, we didn't spend a lot of money on Tini and Gabriel, but they were pretty good signings, right? So was Saliba, so was Thomas Partey, so was Aubameyang, so was Lacazette, so was Martin Odegaard. Yeah. I'm looking now thinking, where are those sort of signings coming from the Champions League? That's time to go now. Now, you said about waiting in January and going for it in the summer. I'll be cool if that was Isak. I'll be cool. Yeah. I don't want us to be waiting and unveiling Sesko. That's not a needle mover. I don't think Manchester City and Liverpool go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Scary hours, yeah.
They don't do that. Whereas we're right now going, Florian Wirtz to Liverpool, Reinders to Man City. I don't want to be hearing these names. Yeah. We should be going for both of these guys. Yeah. And I look at the scenario now and I think it has to be Victor Gyökeres for the pure fact that out of the two, I look at what they're doing in Europe, I look at what they're doing in the Champs, I look at what they're doing for their club. One of them leaves the other one dead in the water for me.
International as well.
International, yeah. I don't know I know anybody that truly believes that Sesko is the one that excites them more than Gyökeres. Can I say he will be better than Gyökeres? I don't have a clue. He might be. I don't know. We'll see it. But the less of the risk is the one that's doing it right now everywhere. And when you look at what's happening in Europe right now, these guys' numbers are pretty scary. He's a bagsman and it's worth the punt. It's the less of the risk of the two. Now, when I look at Benjamin Sesko, I've got nothing wrong with the fact that he might be a good player in the next few years. But that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear this guy's ready now to get us across the line. And these are the signings that Arsenal need to be looking at seriously. When we're looking at Benjamin Sesko's attributes and his ceiling and his potential, cool, that's great for a club that's going to be somewhere in 5 years' time. Maybe Newcastle might look at that signing and think, do you know what? Now they've got Isak, so probably a bad example, but you get my point. They're going to be ready in the next few years to be going for a title. Arsenal are supposed to be ready now. And it's like, boom, there's nobody. We might disagree on a lot of things. Fans might disagree with a lot of what we're saying today. I tell you one thing everybody knows, whether you're an Arsenal fan or a rival fan or a football fan, Arsenal need a striker. That's one thing that's universal. Nobody is sitting there anymore going, I don't really think they do. I think that Havertz and Jesus can win them the league. Everybody knows we need a striker. That striker, though, needs to be one that's coming in and absolutely bagging. And if I'm honest with you, I don't know that I'm guaranteed to see that from Sesko. I hope if it is the guy that we get, that he absolutely bangs. But less of a risk would be Gyökeres, and more of a kind of scary signing would be Gyökeres for me for rival talk. So, and it isn't just what we've got to do, by the way. It's not just done when we get him. If we was to get Gyökeres, I'm not going to go, let's go, but don't need anything more. There's still a lot to do, right?
100%.
But for me, in terms of this first starting 11, signing players like Gyökeres and Rodrigo, and to be fair, Zubamendi, Eze would be a good one for me. I look at that first 11, I think we're kind of pretty much there, now. A couple more squad players maybe, but my fancy is to go. And the Sesko one just doesn't excite me. It's underwhelming for me. But I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong before with signings. I think we all have, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So if it is going to be Sesko, we've obviously got to, as they also like to say, get behind him.
Mikel wants him. We've got to want him.
We've got to want him. So, of course, I don't ever judge anybody until they wear the shirt.
Yeah.
I did it with Ramsdale. I thought, the hell are we getting him for? And he kind of proved that he was an all right goalkeeper for us, right? Yeah. So I do the same with Sesko, but it's not the one that excites me, boys, I can't lie.
And I tell you what, if we do buy Sesko, the left winger's got to be elite.
Yeah.
You can't be getting some Jamie Gittins or someone like, because then you're putting 2 prospects into the front 3. You know, and we shouldn't even be compromising saying we'll take the prospect strike for the good left winger. You need both of them. You should be buying 2 top quality players, but for me it should have been Gyökeres or Osimhen, to be honest. If it wasn't one of them 2, you know, I don't.
More final stages striker.
Yeah, we need somebody now. If you look, we had the best defence in the Prem this year, goals conceded. Yeah. We're down 20 plus goals this season. Everyone knows that front line. You need the missing pieces now. You don't. We're not starting the project again. Why buy a player that is going to take a few years to sell?
Yeah, you see our keep and Selved. I mean, the amount of people in the sell for them.
Well, wait till you see
it's not starting the project again, but there's some work to do this summer. We're not just stopping at 2-3 players, in my opinion, but if they do, more for them. You actually mentioned before we wrap it up, signing players like Oba when we was in the Europa League. Again, I'm just going to bring back to the Kroenkes, because the margin. You sign Oba 60, it was even Lacazette 40 and then Oba 60 within 6 months. But if you get Champions League football back, your investment is light, because the financial gain from being out of the top 4 to being in the top 4 is massive. So that's what they invested in. But if you're second, the financial gain from being second to first ain't nearly as much as 5th to 4th. So they've never shown that. When we were second years back or second a couple of years ago or that whatever, they've never shown they wanted. Because even the Havertz Rice summer was probably our most complete summer of the Emirates era. But even then, we look back at either the player ID in one of them, or just generally there was still a couple of gaps that needed filling. But the excitement of the rest was like, all right, let's go and get it. Before we wrap it up, 3 names each you want to see in. Just 3 names. Curtis, let's start with you.
So I go Gyökeres, Rodrigo. I would sign Eze as well, you know. Yeah,
it's a good 3.
I would sign Eze.
Dan?
Yeah, exactly the same. Look, I've got to be real. I said last season when I was trying to look towards the future, I think it was around January, I said the ones that would excite me in the first 11 was Kvaratskhelia and Isak. And Kvaratskhelia, everybody has to hold it L, not just Arsenal. This guy's just won a treble. Right, in the January signing, and you think, wow, fair play. Yeah. Isak's not unobtainable, it seems, right? So then you look at your next 2. Rodrigo would be the only left winger that's even in that bracket for me.
Yeah.
The others are all a level down. Lookman, Williams, Semenyo, they're all good players, not the ones that take me to the next level. So Rodrigo, Gyökeres is my guy. And the reason I mentioned Deze earlier, and I'm with Curtis here, is because I do feel like there's 2 positions that he can play that we need, and that's the attacking role and the obviously left wing role. So I think there's a real good opportunity for him to be brought in, and I think it's around 60-something million, 68 I think million release clause. Them 3 would excite me. Any of the other positions I don't see as a priority, if I'm honest. So it has to be those 3, attacking midfielder, a striker and a winger. And yeah, we're both on the same wavelength there, man.
Yeah, and this is kind of being picked with Zubimendi already in mind, even though there's rumours about Partey. And if Partey goes, by the way, that Zubimendi signing ain't really upgrading nothing in that position.
Could argue it's downgraded.
Yeah, really.
Partey's been unreal.
Overall, the experience you lose overall with Jorginho and Partey. 3 players, I mean, I'll go with your 3, but I'll put a lot of pressure on them. I'll talk a lot of shit about, well, not shit, but, I'll put shit on them. I'm going to be realistic for them and change Eze for Shirky, because 25 mil, I'm intrigued to see, his next step up and what he produces, if he does, or if he tails off because of attitude or whatever. But yeah, those 3 positions, Gyökeres, Rodrigo, Shirky, Eze, whatever, I'm happy with either. And then you start filling out the squad a little bit more, doing what you need to do. All right, let's wrap it up. Dan, let them know where they can find you, and obviously we'll put it in the description.
Love, bro. Yeah, Football's 12th Man. You see me on AFTV as well, and a lot of other channels. But that's my channel now, on the way to 50k. So big up to everyone, and big up to you both, man.
Come on, G. Curtis.
Yeah, see me about, man. Curtis Shaw TV.
You're about.
I'm about, man. OGs, show with you. I'm on here. I'm about.
Yeah, come on, people. Make sure you subscribe. Football's 12th Man, Curtis Shaw TV, Turkish LDN, the Big 6. You know what it is already. Make sure you subscribe here. Hit the like button. Bit of a moan, but what did you expect, people? If you lasted it, hit that like button, leave us your comments. If you didn't, then you probably left a comment moaning already, but that's how the world goes around Arsenal right now. It is what it is. See you when we see you, people. Love for the love. We're out. Peace.